Amazon is to cover 100% of college tuition for U.S. hourly employees. So let's get right into the story. So Amazon said Thursday it will offer to pay 100% of college tuition for its 750,000 U.S. hourly employees. So the e-commerce giant is following the lead of other large U.S. companies that are dangling perks such as education benefits or more pay to woo workers in a tight job market. So starting in January, Amazon said it will cover the cost of college tuition, fees, and textbooks for hourly employees in its operations network after 90 days of employment. It will also begin covering high school diploma programs, GEDs, and English as a second language certifications for employees. Operations workers include employees in Amazon's sprawling network of warehouses and distribution centers. The benefit will apply to hundreds of education institutions across the country, Amazon said. Amazon previously offered to pay for 95% of tuition, fees, and textbooks for hourly associates through its Career Choice program. But rival retailers, including Walmart and Target, have also beefed up their education benefits in recent months. So Target in August rolled out a program that covers the cost of associate and undergraduate degrees at select schools. And Walmart in July said it would pay 100% of college tuition and books costs for associates at Walmart and Sam's Club. So as the job market has grown more competitive, Amazon is ramping up incentives to lure workers. So in some areas of the country, Amazon is offering sign-on bonuses for new employees worth up to $3,000. So Amazon's CFO, Brian Olsavsky, told analysts and investors after the company's second quarter earnings report in July that the competitive labor market is leading to higher costs. We're spending a lot of money on signing and incentives, and while we have very good staffing levels, it's not without a cost, Olsavsky said. It's a very competitive labor market out there, and Amazon has been on a hiring spree since the start of the pandemic, bringing on 500,000 employees in 2020. And in May, Amazon said it's hiring 750,000 workers across its warehouse and delivery network in the US and Canada, and the jobs offer a starting wage of $17 per hour, reflecting recent wage increases which bumped up pay by between 50 cents and $3 an hour for more than 500,000 of its US operations employees. And so the thing to really understand about this, right, is like, this is good that Amazon's doing this. That means more people are going to get hired. More people are going to be able to make, more than $15 an hour, which means they're actually going to be making a decent amount of money. The only thing to really understand about this situation is that it's going to get to the point where pretty much the majority of the jobs in the country are going to be provided by massive, massive corporations, and people have different views on that, right? But let's say that you do apply to Amazon and you actually end up getting on like a sign-up bonus worth up to $3,000. Well, hopefully it's actually in cash and that's just some like weird perk thing. But let's say that they were actually just going to give you $3,000 in cash. What should you do with these $3,000, right? Well, depending on where you are in your financial situation, you should actually do this. You should put about $2,000 in the starter emergency fund / sinking fund, right? Meaning basically, if things end up happening, you could pay for it without stressing too much about it, right? And then you use the extra $1,000 to pay off some debt, right? And pay off your lowest amount of debt, right? So if you have two credit cards, one's at $3,000 and the other one is at $1,000, you pay off that $1,000 one with that extra $1,000 that you have. And then you start working at Amazon and start working to pay off your higher credit card. Because the thing is, no matter which job you end up working, whether it be Amazon right here, making $17 an hour with these sign-on bonuses and all that stuff, or some other job, regardless of where you work, your main goal should be to get out of debt as soon as possible so that you free up basically all of your cash flow so that you can pretty much go and do what you want and you can basically live the life that you want, right? Because a lot of people don't really understand this, but debt is one of the worst things that would be dragging you down, right? Imagine if you didn't have a credit card payment, a student loan payment, or a car payment, right? Like just imagine if you did not have to have those payments, the amount of money that would actually be going into your bank account, which you could end up using for potentially a down payment for a home, potentially save up for a pretty nice car, potentially just save up and really have some freedom. Maybe go on a trip where you don't actually have to worry about, oh snap, I just put like $4,000 on a credit card for a trip that I can't even afford, right? Like a lot of people do not understand the risks of carrying a lot of debt, right? And the amount of stress that is actually on your life when you truly understand how much debt you actually have. For example, if you stumble upon this episode, just take a single piece of paper and write down your total amount of debt that you actually have. And once you figure out the total amount of debt that you actually have, you would then start to realize, oh, holy crap, I have a very serious problem. So that's something that people need to understand. Like carrying a massive amount of debt will not do you good. So if you are someone who's basically starting their career or just like is like looking to find like a better job and you end up getting hired to Amazon, right, which potentially could pay you a little bit more than your current job, that's the route that I would go, right? I would go get the bonus, put some money into like a very, very small emergency fund, right? But start paying off debt as soon as possible. I would not be worrying about, creating a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. I would not be focusing on investing into a 401k. I would not be worried about investing into a Roth IRA. I would not be focused on trying to buy a brand new car. I would not be focusing on trying to go out every single weekend, right? Because the thing is, you don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. And the thing is, this is the reality, no matter how much money you make, you could potentially always end up living paycheck to paycheck. So you have someone who's making $10,000 a year after taxes, guess what? Could be living paycheck to paycheck. You have someone making $50,000 a year after taxes, they could be living paycheck to paycheck. You have someone making $1 million a year after taxes. That individual could actually end up being living paycheck to paycheck because people spend more money than they make pretty much all the time. That is the culture that we live in. And if you truly want to feel free and no longer have the stress of debt weighing down on you, you need to go and take the steps to pay off your debt, right? And you could actually do that working a job at Amazon, especially if they're actually paying $17 an hour with a potential sign-up bonus for roughly $3,000, right? Like, this is pretty much the best time for someone who's looking for like a job change to potentially change their fate of their life pretty much, right? Because if you get yourself out of debt, the amount of freedom that you can have is immense, right? You could end up freeing enough time from your life, from your day, if you don't have to work 40 plus hours a week just to live, right? Like you could start decreasing the amount of time that you spend at your job so that you could focus a little bit more time with your family, focus a little bit more time playing games, focus a little bit more time working on things that you want to work on, the business that you want to work on, the side hustle you want to work on, or just the skill that you want to increase. Maybe you want to learn MMA. The way to do that is to take advantage of, businesses that are hiring for a higher wage than potentially what you're working at and pay off debt. Because the combination of making a little bit more money while also paying down your debt is just going to keep increasing the likelihood of you financially succeeding. So just keep that in mind. By the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 40inbox.com.